Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video takes us straight into Judge Meyer's courtroom where things get intense as a self-proclaimed American state national goes head to head with a judge who clearly knows how to handle these kinds of bizarre and baseless arguments. The situation quickly unfolds into a clash between confidence and reality, and trust me, it's something you don't want to miss. The audio wasn't the best, but I've cleaned it up as much as possible so you can fully experience every moment of this wild courtroom exchange. Let's dive in.
Well, the first matter, Amos Canzoni, come on up and have a seat if you would. Go ahead and have a seat, sure. There's no contract. You and I have no contract. We resolve it in this way. It's a civil infraction, which means the city has the obligation of going first. Go ahead and have a seat and speak into the, if you're more comfortable standing. No, this isn't the time for questions. This isn't the time for questions. What we do here, this is not, we do it in a certain order. The first thing we do is, as you were cited for 2 infractions, is as I read what the officer said, until there's nothing before me, until we have the officer's statement. Once we have the officer's statement, then you can present whatever argument you want. That's the time you make your argument.
So what is it called today?
Pardon?
What are you planning on doing today?
Well, you're defending yourself against the issuance of 2 infractions.
No, I'm not the defendant.
Well,
would you agree with me?
You're whatever you want to call yourself, a defendant, a respondent. You're the person who was issued the citations.
That's the problem. That's not the defendant.
I've read the argument. You're not raising it at the right time. Raise the argument after I've read the officer's statement into the record.
I have actually contested that statement on the return service that you received in the file.
Okay.
The statement is not accurate.
If it's not accurate, now is not the time. We don't have the statement yet. I need to read the statement. On January 2nd, 2025, at approximately 1600 hours, while on patrol within the city limits of Yelm in a marked patrol vehicle, when I observed a silver Buick traveling east on Mossman Avenue with Washington registration ACA 8168. The registration showed expired as of 11/24. I conducted a traffic stop using my emergency lights. The driver was identified as Amos Canzoni by his Washington State driver's license. Amos first gave me a random card stating he was an American citizen and did not need a driver's license. Amos attempted to argue his sovereign citizenship and that he did not need a driver's license. Amos was unable to provide me with current proof of insurance and stated he did not have any at this time. Amos was given the opportunity to contact the valid driver, but was unable to do so. I advised Amos that his vehicle would be impounded. Amos was given a criminal citation for driving while license suspended in the 3rd degree, a traffic citation for no insurance, and a copy of the TOFR. Amos was given a courtesy to his residence. The vehicle was impounded from the scene by Wharton Towing. That's what the officer says. Now I'll listen to you. Now's the time.
All right, here's what actually went down. This guy wasn't traveling or using any imaginary loophole. He was plainly driving without a license or insurance. When things inevitably went wrong, he couldn't even contact the so-called corporate fiction he claimed owned the vehicle, and as expected, the car was towed. Situations like this are a perfect reminder to stay far away from sovereign citizen claims. American state national rhetoric and similar nonsense, they don't just create problems for themselves. They pull everyone around them into unnecessary chaos without a second thought. But anyway, let's see what this guy actually thinks he's about to argue in court.
Could you speak into the microphone?
I gave the officer very first once when he approached me, I gave him my American state national credential card. And this has all the information he needed to look up to find out that I'm not a US citizen and therefore not in his jurisdiction. and therefore there's no issue about traffic violations because there was no crime involved. And then he refused to look up the information by his own choice. So then he required my driver's license, which I told him I can give it to him, but that does not apply because it's my license, it's not the DOL sign, because my name is a copyrighted name, and therefore it's in my possession. But anyway, he then went on to saying about sovereign citizen. That's an oxymoron, and I tend to say only morons use that term because a sovereign can never be a citizen. Citizen has an obligation to whatever government or state he's subscribing to, whereas a sovereign, I'm a foreign sovereign. I mean, I'm foreign to your jurisdiction. I'm here talking to you now as a lawful person. I can talk to you because we're both persons in this environment, but I'm not subject to illegal rules and everything. That's up to you. That's you are subject to. I'm not. I tried to tell that to the police officer because for his own protection, I told him, look, I'm not really who you think I am. I'm a driver, not driving a commercial vehicle with interstate commerce. It's the only reason I would have a driver's license. So that's why I gave him the credential card first so he could correct his mistake. He refused to do so, and they ran me through the mill, and you know what the mill was doing afterwards. So that's all criminal now because I'm a foreign sovereign, and I posted it on my door. I posted it in my file that I have the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, meaning help that holds me, a man, a lawful person, immune towards the legalese, the legal subscription, which a dual citizen has obligation as a citizen.
Yeah. He's completely off base here. The Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act has absolutely nothing to do with a routine traffic stop. And what really gives it away is that he openly admitted in court that he was driving, not traveling, which undermines his own argument before the judge even has to step in. The FSIA is a federal law that governs when U.S. courts can hear cases against foreign governments or their agencies, typically in specific situations like commercial activity within the United States. It's designed for international legal matters, not as a loophole for individuals trying to dodge traffic laws. You can't just declare yourself a foreign entity and expect the rules of the road to disappear, and using labels like sovereign, natural person, or American state national doesn't turn a regular vehicle into something exempt from the law.
I do not have those obligations. And I try to tell you that too in my paperwork as a meeting. And so you don't have a claim. You have to actually prove jurisdiction over me 1 year. The defendant is not me, but defendant, the name, all caps name, is under my private copyright and trademark. So you basically created, not you with you, I mean the federal government created that name. And I'm asking you, do you agree that the name represents a usufruct derivative? It's something you can use to access my assets and create credit therefrom. And then without my consent or knowledge, you can then create monetary incentives for yourself and for the court and everything. But the credit and the asset still belongs to me. So the conundrum I have with you now is, you are the ones who would have to pay the fine on that violation because it doesn't concern me. It concerns a usufruct derivative, which I still don't have any control over, even though it's in my copyright and trademark. That's the whole conundrum I have with the court and with the federal government itself. You trespass on me, you basically transform me into a defendant, all caps name defendant, which I am not, and I have proven that I'm not. And yet you still try to link me to that case with that defendant. And I would claim that the government is responsible to offset all these fines or whatever you want to create under that name and hold me harmless because I have nothing to do with it. So that's in a nutshell the situation. But I would also say you have to prove jurisdiction first before you have a case. And you haven't done that so far. Nobody has rebutted my documents I filed into the court case. That means in your own rules, it's admitted truth, because it has not been rebutted. It's fact and truth. And then you would technically have to honor these facts and truth. But by continuing with the charade, you do not. And you do not recognize that you're basically now in criminal contempt of the law, because you have to spell it out. As of January 1st, 2025, poof, this court has disappeared. The municipal government has been liquefied with a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which has been finalized January 1st. And now, basically, you don't even exist anymore. Or if you do exist, you would have to be on Washington, D.C. ground, because you're not having any rights to be on land and soil.
This is exactly the kind of argument that shows how American state nationals try to separate themselves from typical sovereign citizen claims, but at the core, it's the same recycled logic, just repackaged with more confidence and even more confusion. The ideas may sound slightly different on the surface, but they still rely on misunderstandings of how the law actually works, often leading to the same predictable outcomes in court. It's essentially the same playbook, just presented with a stronger sense of certainty despite having no real legal grounding.
Now, that's something that's in general, that has nothing to do with this court specifically. It's just a general thought that has been put on the people of this country. Now, I have another document here. I would like to post it. I have it only filed in the docket, but it shows the residents of this country. Residents in all caps, and we all know a resident is only a temporary living in this country or in the state. There's not a single American in the census of 330 million people. Now, my question to you is, why do you insist on treat us like sovereign citizens, which is an oxymoron, rather than recognize our status? Because in Thurston County, there's maybe 2,000 of us, if it comes to a high number. Everybody else can be treated as a dual U.S. citizens, which gives you all the rights you have, but not against me. So that's your problem now, because I have documented everything in the file. So basically, I made a counterclaim. I nullified your claims, including the fines, including whatever you want to bring up, including the statements of the police officer. They've all been voided out by me responding, return service response. And that also would also be appearance in court, by the way. So he never not appeared in court. I just give you the courtesy. Well, it's basically not a courtesy, it's under duress. I come here to make sure I inform you of the situation you're basically maneuvering yourself into by not recognizing who I am as a foreign sovereign, because I'm outside of your jurisdiction, period. So that's why you don't really have a case. And it would be wise if you would allow the prosecutor to file a notice of dismissal or cancellation of the case, because you don't have any jurisdiction, and I have proven that on the record.
You haven't proven a single thing on the record. In fact, the only thing you've made clear is that you relied on advice that doesn't hold up in a real courtroom. Walking in and repeating something like it's law doesn't make it legally valid, and now you're facing the consequences while whoever sold you that idea isn't the one standing before the judge. That's the reality of these situations. Courts deal in actual statutes and precedent, not internet scripts, and judges aren't going to entertain arguments that have no legal foundation for long.
And that's fine.
You showed me the paper that you showed. I could not see that from here. Could I see that?
I give it to you. This is what's not in the docket. And then also, in order for me to be protected, we also have a private indemnity bond. In case I would be involved in a crime or in some property damage, that indemnifies me. I don't need a bond like you guys do. I just need an indemnity bond. So that means if something happens that causes a lot of financial problems, that indemnity bond would be able to connect going forward. So that's the document, and you can see there's two barcodes on there, or whatever they call it. You can access my documents like the police officer could have easily gone, scan those two barcodes and get into the file, and then all the files are in there accessible, the same ones I put into the court case now. So basically, there was no reason for the officer to do anything else except, oh, excuse me, I made a mistake, have a good day. That would be his proper response to me as identifying me as a foreign sovereign. And he did not do that, and the court did not do that, and I don't go into details right now, but it has been a lot of hassle against me, who is not even involved in this mission. That's the problem I have with you now, that you don't recognize that I'm really not part of this court proceeding.
Unfortunately, that argument doesn't hold up in any real court. There isn't a recognized legal system where simply declaring your own jurisdiction overrides established law, and the US courts aren't obligated to accept personal interpretations as valid authority. Reality doesn't change because certain phrases are used on the record. Courts rely on actual statutes and legal precedent. So if you're living in the United States, the only approach that truly works is understanding and following the laws that are actually in force.
So you're entitled to call yourself anything you want to. I believe under the law, you're entitled to use any name you want as long as you're not doing that to defraud anybody. Now, it's not of any interest to me whether you call yourself first name, last name, first name, comma, uppercase, lowercase. It's the person that's sitting in front of me. They take it, it's my turn.
Okay.
But you're arguing that you're basically exempt from you're exempt from the rules that would apply to the citizens of this country. The problem is you may be, may not be call yourself a citizen of this country, but when you're using the roadway, you're subject to the rules of the roadway, no matter what you call yourself, a foreign citizen, a sovereign, it doesn't matter. Is this person using the roadway? When you do that, there are certain requirements that apply to the people using the roadway. And that if you were, then the officer says you're within the city of Yelm on a road, on Mossman Avenue, take judicial notice of that. That's a certified road. You are subject to those obligations. Now, I'm very familiar with all these arguments. I suggest you, it's my turn, sir. I suggest you read State v. Williams. It's in 143 Washington 2nd, which goes into this. We're talking alternative realities here. The reality I subscribe to, this is the state of Washington. This is a validly established court. I have jurisdictions over minor matters, infractions committed within the city by the people that are driving on the road, for example. Now, you don't believe that? State versus Williams goes into that in some detail. They call these arguments, I've looked through this as, at one point they refer to them as semi-literate gibberish, which is basically what it is. These are specious arguments that I don't have to, I'm not taking into effect. They are not recognized in any court in the United States. I know there's a wealth of information, hundreds, thousands of these articles on the internet. You can pull them off. For example, this one signed by Anna Marie Reisinger of Alaska, relating to the United States Corporation and the United States USA Corporation. It's all very interesting, but it has no meaning here with me.
So the judge just brought up Anna von Reitz, often called Anna Rising, one of the most prominent voices behind the American State National movement, who presents herself as knowing more than established courts and legal experts. But here's where things get interesting. Despite all the rhetoric about no jurisdiction and alternative legal theories, the real-world legal system still applies, and there have been actions taken against her assets over unpaid taxes through formal legal processes. That contrast says a lot. No matter how convincing the narrative sounds online, courts operate on enforceable law and documented authority, not personal interpretations or self-declared status.
I look at the officer's statement, and he identified you by a Washington driver's license. He did cite you for license suspended, but I'm not able to find that you didn't have a valid license, and so I'm going to dismiss that. However, I've not been furnished with proof that you had insurance, so I'm going to find that you committed that infraction.
Remember, I said to you, I have an indemnity bond. If anything happens to me in a traffic accident or something that causes damage to somebody else, I'm indemnified. And the word indemnified
by who?
Lawyers can tell you that it's nothing to do with you. It's to do with the people of this country.
No, the law in the state of Washington is that you have a valid certificate of insurance from a recognized issue of insurance. A piece of paper that says I'm indemnified doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, but you see, you don't get the point. The point is, you are working for a governmental subcontractor, which is now liquefied. But the point is, you have contract with the country, with the people of this country, and which is the Constitution of 1789 and 1790, which gives you enumerated services, powers, and traffic control is not one of them. So you usurped all these powers, and I think your legalese people here are articles and texts. These are the two topics that read this whole thing. Now, you can claim ignorance of the law. You can do that. But I gave you the information. And according to your own UCC, once knowledge is given, what is a license? If you are a corporation, you need a license to do business. I'm not a corporation.
Yeah, none of that holds up. You're not a corporation, not a sovereign entity, and repeating internet theories doesn't make you legally untouchable, it just shows you relied on bad information. Somewhere along the line, you trusted advice that doesn't stand up in a real courtroom, and now you're dealing with the consequences while the person who sold you that narrative isn't the one facing the judge. Walking in with confidence is one thing, but courts run on actual law, not scripts or self-declared status, and that's exactly where this kind of argument falls apart.
Let me stop you right there. I've heard that before many times. The problem here is we subscribe to different realities.
Exactly.
I agree that it's 1788. My turn, sir. My turn. 1789, I think that was when the Constitution was fully ratified and became the law of the land. And for ever since that time, countless scholars from the Supreme Court on down have spent their lives studying the Constitution, figuring out what it means, trying to interpret it, how it applies to specific events. One of the issues is back then, your way of getting around was horse and carriage. There wasn't any such thing as an automobile. Now, that went on for a long, long time. Only the last few years, comparatively, this alternate way of looking at the Constitution rose up. It's not taught in any law school that I'm aware of. It's kind of an internet sensation, and it is, to paraphrase Shakespeare a little bit, a lot of a big tale full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. This is what you're arguing to me means in my frame of reference, it means nothing. It's not recognized in any of our courts. As they say, it's an alternative reality, and that's been done. People have gone to other countries and decided this is the reality we're going to have. I've made my ruling. I'm concluding the hearing.
I would like to respond to that. You're right on target when you say we're not in the same area of existence. You're a legal fiction. You're a judge. That's a legal fiction. It doesn't exist in the real world. The land and soil is where the people live and act upon. And by the way, the officer confirmed that I was driving on public roads. Who owns the public roads? The public, not the police department, not you as a judge. And so that has to be respected for those who have identified themselves as the public. Again, a US citizen is not the public. You're correct in that, they're two different realms. But the mistake you're making is you do not recognize my realm, the real realm. And you can do that, but then again, I'm not part of it, so you have no rights to rule against me at all. That's my point. You made the point yourself.
We could sit here and we could discuss this to no end. We're ships passing in the night. You don't agree with what I'm saying. I don't agree with what you're saying. What I am saying is what is currently the law is recognized by the Washington State Supreme Court and the Washington State Court of Appeals and the Washington State Superior Court. If you think I'm wrong in applying the law as it exists, you can appeal me.
Well, okay, but have you proven jurisdiction over me?
We're done.
No, you haven't proven jurisdiction over me. That you have to prove, and we have many Supreme Court rulings that say that. Unless proven on the record that you have jurisdiction over me in personam and what is the other one, material one, you have no case because you have to prove that first. And that is the clue for you to actually do it or dismiss the case. One of the two.
I am satisfied the jurisdiction has been proven.
Oh, it has
The
not.
individual that's sitting in front of me was pulled over on a Washington street and issued a citation.
You don't have any
Sir, that's enough. That's enough. We're done.
That's a wrap for today's video, and honestly, the highlight had to be the moment the judge made it clear that the defendant was operating in a completely different reality than everyone else in the courtroom, which says it all. This case has been around for a while, and I've been keeping an eye on it, waiting to see how it plays out, but as expected, once things stopped going his way, he simply didn't show back up. That's usually how these situations unfold when the claims can't stand up to real legal scrutiny. But if he resurfaces and the case finally reaches a conclusion, you already know I'll bring you the full update right here. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.